Welcome to Whole CEO with Lisa G. I'm the best-selling author of The Boss Weight Loss. I'm bringing you the top tips to be unstoppable. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to actually pull up a chair with today's top experts in weight loss, mindset, and business. Learn our top tips to set you up for success so that you can have more energy, be fit and resilient, and feel unstoppable. We have a very special podcast for you today. He's a serial entrepreneur, mentor, philanthropist, movie producer, author, motivational speaker, business coach. He started over 26 different companies from scratch that have all become multi-million-dollar enterprises. Sir John Shin is also the executive producer of the featured film that I love, the Think and Grow Rich, The Legacy, about the book Think and Grow Rich, written by Napoleon Hill in 1937. His book is How Rich Asians Think and Grow Rich. Sir John Shin has an MBA, JD degree in law, worked at a Fortune 100 company, eventually joining his wife in a financial career with his mission to spread financial literacy. Sir John Shin has been featured in Wall Street Journal, Forbes magazine, numerous finance magazines, appeared on CBS, NBC, Fox News, MSNBC. Please welcome Sir John Shin.
Yay! All right. Thank you for that intro, Lisa.
So glad to have you here. I want to take us back to the beginning because I know you're all about success principles. So what lessons did you learn about success going from being bullied and an immigrant to being an athlete and successful?
Well, that's a great question. When I grew up, Lisa, I grew up in Glendale, California. And for both of us being from Southern California, it's like, 30 minutes from where we're at now.
Right.
And when I grew up, I was the only, other than my sister, we were the only two Asian kids in the entire school.
Wow.
And so, yeah, we were the only minorities there. And we didn't have, now I know Glendale is comprised of a lot of Armenians now. There's a lot of Latinos out there. But there wasn't even Latinos or Armenians. We were the only ones. And so obviously these kids not ever seen an Asian person, they asked questions like, are you related to Bruce Lee? Yeah. And they're like, can you speak Chinese? So it was interesting, like how many people, like a lot of people knew about China, but they didn't realize that there are other Asian countries and continents, right, that are of Asian. There's North Asia, Southern, Southeast, and so forth.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I get it, so, then it's not like there's a lot of cruel people today, but it's not like cruel people only existed now. They've been around forever, since mankind. And so
that's why I love this topic. I think we've all been there.
Yeah, and so it's even like when I grew up, I mean, there were bullies then and cruel, mean people back then.
Yeah.
And they said weird things like, hey, can you see me? I mean, and I'm looking at them and I'm like, what do you mean? Can I see you? What is this? And I looked at them almost like I wasn't offended by it. I wasn't taken back by it. I didn't get angry. I just kind of looked at them like they must be really dumb. Like, I mean, am I, like they looking at me, I'm looking at them and they're asking me if I'm blind, if I can even see them. I mean, so I didn't understand that part of the English vocabulary. And of course, right. English being my second language, I didn't understand it, and I don't know how I don't have an accent today, or maybe I do, I don't know, but.
You were born in Korea then.
Yeah, I was born in Korea and then came to the United States. Okay. Yeah. And my father was actually in the military, the U.S. Army, and served in the U.S. Army as a medic, so, and that's how we were able to come to the United States. But things like that really never bothered me. And I know a lot of people that it bothers them. And not that I wanted to preach at all here. It's not my intention to preach to anybody, whatever your religion is. I mean, hey, you live in the country where you can believe in whatever you want to live, believe in. But for our faith, we grew up as a Christian family. And so you know, always the things that our parents taught us and what the scriptures told us is that, you know, whoever these people are, whatever they're saying, we were created in a, you know, in his image. And so I was like, what, are you kidding me? Like none of that stuff really bothered me, you know, and we didn't come from a rich family, but we didn't come from a poor family either. You know, we were kind of like the middle class, but I tell people, you know, even though you didn't come from a rich family, have a rich family come from you. Okay. Just like, you know, we weren't rich, but I didn't go, well, we're never going to be rich. I said, I'm going to be the guy to make this family rich financially. And of course, Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill says, when you say rich, most people equate the word rich with, you know, money or finance, right? But when you read the books, Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill refers to rich being rich in all areas of your life.
Right.
So, and that's what my parents always raised us that way, the same way. You know, it's interesting that they said, you know, money isn't everything. It certainly it's nice to have a lot of money because then you have more choices and options, but it's not everything. And so we want to be rich in all areas of your life. And as I was growing up, I discovered to put those areas in the 4 compartments. I call those the 4 F's. And so I'm going to start off by saying the first F is faith.
Right.
Right. And the second one is your finance. Now, not in any particular order. Okay. The third one is your family. Okay. And the fourth one is your fitness. So those are the 4 areas of your life, right? You know, you can have all the money in the world, but if you're unhealthy and you're sick and you're taking medication and you're taking 10 pills a day, well, that's not good, right? So you got to focus on your fitness, you know, and your family. You got to have an awesome family. And I have to say I'm blessed today. We have 4 kids, boy, girl, you know, we just sent our last one off to college this 2.5 days ago.
Oh.
And, you know, and then the last one is your personal finance. I say that all right, you know, so faith, family, finance, and fitness. So, you know, I always wanted to be the best in all those areas. And I tell people, don't be bitter, but get better. Okay. You know, and so I want to get better. I could be angry and go, well, if I was born with blue eyes and blonde hair, right, living in this country, you know, yeah, if I was 6'4" or, you know what I mean? Like, you know, hey, this is how I was wired. Okay. And this is what I tell everybody is that every person that's listening to you and I am so grateful to you, Lisa, that you're putting your own podcast show out there, right? And you're taking your precious time to go out there and seek influencers and experts and thought leaders and to put the show on, right? I mean, you got to organize it, get them on. And, you know, sometimes you get busy people. It's very hard to lock them in and get them committed to a certain time and date. And so it's awesome that you're doing this podcast, and I'm honored to be on the show with you. And I tell people that don't be bitter, but get better. And that every person is wired for success, but you're programmed to fail.
Wow.
Right? And the reason why you're programmed to fail is because what are you listening to every day? So one of the things that I tell people is make sure that you insulate what you're allowing to come into your mind.
Right.
You know, and it's scary because the things that we see today on TV, and when I was growing up, TV was different. Like television actually taught us life lessons because mom and dad were off working 9 to 5, making a living, trying to put food on the table. So we would come home and then we would watch Laverne and Shirley. We would watch Wonder Years. We watched Happy Days, right?
I remember all that. Yeah.
And we watched The Brady Bunch, right? Little House on a Prairie. So we learned things from life lessons from watching TV. And so Brady Bunch, I mean, you know, there you go. You're watching the Brady Bunch and with 6 kids living on the same roof, you see all the issues and how do you solve that? At the end, you know, mom and dad figured out a way to come up with the solution to make that all work. And so, you know, it's life lessons. But today, the stuff we see on TV, it's junk. That's why television's going down the tubes, right?
We turn off TV. I don't want to watch the news. I don't want to see all what's sensationalized.
Yeah.
If it's something really serious, I'll find out about it. But I agree with you. I think it's who you surround yourself with, what you listen to.
Yeah.
And I really love the principle of the burning desire from the Think and Grow Rich book.
Yeah.
Where did you get that burning desire that you knew from a very young age you wanted to be successful, you wanted to help other people be successful, and you wanted to rise above where you were?
So, so the word desire is so big, you know what I mean? I mean, if you, like for me, my mother and my father basically embedded into my brain, like it's like tattooed into my mind that we did not come to this country to screw up this opportunity.
Right.
Okay. You know,
you were,
say that again.
That was drilled into your head to appreciate the opportunity and not mess it up.
Yeah. Like we didn't, like, you know, people say, well, you know, you go America because of the beaches. No, there's beaches around the world that are nicer than other beaches here in the United States. Right.
Right.
We don't come here for the clothes. We came here seeking the opportunity. And let me just tell you, and I don't want to get all political because that's not my intention here, but you know, there's a lot of people say, you know, if we had a different president and this president, no matter how bad everybody thinks this country is right now, it's still better than living in North Korea.
Of course.
Okay. It's still better than living in some communist country. And if you don't think it is, go live over there, see what communist life feels like, where you're basically, you can't say anything, you can't do anything, they limit how much income you make. I mean, this was the land of the free. And so my mother said, we did not come to this country to screw up this opportunity. And then, of course, you know, Asian mom, Tiger mom, knows how to make you feel so bad. You know, how when they were growing up and they had no shoes and they had to walk, you know, miles with their, you know, backpacks, and they had no food and this and that. And it's like, you hear all this stuff and you're like, man, I need to be the one. Remember, like I said earlier, if you didn't come from a rich family, have a rich family come for you. And I wanted to be rich, okay, in all areas of my life. And so I was not going to screw this thing up. So that's why I wanted to be that best version of me. And so, you know, honestly, like when we get in our car and you don't know if I want to say, oh, I'm going to go to Lisa's house right now. Well, I would pop in your address. I know exactly how to get there. And I have a GPS system, right? How do I get to where I want to go? And so I quickly identified my GPS. The letter GPS is an acronym for me. And the letter G stands for goals, right? So most people have no goals. You know what I mean? It was interesting, like how many people don't even know what they want. What do you need to get done?
You gotta know what you want. Step one.
You gotta know what you want. And I always say, what do you want? And you know, I hear from a lot of people, they say, you know, I don't know. I don't know what I want. Okay, well, you don't know what you want. You got to start there. You know, we actually went out to dinner a couple of nights ago, and we were talking about, there was somebody at our table and she was very attractive, right? And so I said, are you married? And she's like, well, no. And I said, oh, so are you dating? And she goes, no. She goes, so you don't have a boyfriend, you don't have a husband. I go, is there something I need to know about you? That's what I said to her. And she goes, well, no. And she says, John, she says, have you seen the selection of men out there? And I was like, what do you mean? She goes, they have no goals.
Yeah, you know, that's so important. It's so important to know what you want, because all of these success principles aren't going to get you anywhere if you don't know what you want to start with.
Yeah. Right. And I said to her, I was like, yeah, I could see. I think if I would probably be single right now too, because the selection is pretty slim out there, right? Because most people don't know what they want. So what are your goals? So that's what G stands for. The letter P for GPS is your plans. Once you know what you want, what's your plan? And we've all heard the quote, people don't plan to fail, but they just fail to plan.
Right.
So what is your plan? How will you get it done? Okay, you're going to write a book? Great. How are you going to get it done? You're going to go make $1 million? How are you going to get it done? Right? So what is that plan? And then the letter S is the schedule. When are you going to get it done? And that's so important, because people say, well, I'm going to start next year. I'm like, what do you mean next year? You mean like in 2022? Like, yeah. I'm like, well, wait a second. Well, 2021 isn't over yet. So why don't you just start now? And they're like, well, you know, I mean, next year. And I say, man, you got to learn how to be a fourth quarter player. You know, when you're watching football or basketball, It's not like they go into the halftime and they're like, we're already losing. Should we just quit the game now? No, professionals will play to the very end of the game. And there are teams that have pulled it off right in the fourth quarter. So I said, you need to learn how to become a fourth quarter player, because we're only in August. We still have September, October, November, December. We got 4 more months. You got almost a quarter and a half to go. So let's start now and let's get this thing done.
I love that.
So I tell everybody, man, you got to have a sense of urgency right now. Most people don't have a sense of urgency. They're so casual. Everybody's so casual these days. They're like, oh, COVID. Everybody's blaming everything on COVID. I'm like, because of COVID, this. I'm like, what are you talking about? Because of COVID, our income doubled last year. I've got people that made 3-4 times their income last year because of COVID. So it's like, it's unbelievable. Like, let's get a sense of urgency. And what happens is when people have a sense of urgency, and what that does, it creates momentum.
Yeah.
And then when you create momentum, then things get done. It's amazing how many people will get things done when they need to go on vacation. So if you're going to leave on Saturday morning, man, imagine all the things you did Wednesday, Thursday, Friday before you left out of town. Right. And so if you can just compress all that activity in a very short period of time, then, you get more done.
I love it that you're so into mentorship and helping other people become successful. And I know that you yourself went from being broke to being multi-millionaire with all these 26 companies. How did you turn that around?
You mean from going broke, right? Well, so here's the thing. It was like, there was a point in my life where it was the second year Arlene and I were married. And we were broke, right? We had $500,000 in student loan debts. And that's because we had law school, right? So postgraduate, we had undergraduate, and then we had $80,000 in credit card debt on top of that. Yeah. And so we're like, man. And I remember our anniversary, and most people for an anniversary, they'll go to another trip, a little 3-day, 4-day, 5-day trip, maybe a cruise or whatever, right?
Right.
And I basically remembered we didn't even have lights on at our house. So we had no power. Okay. And so we couldn't watch TV. We used candles, okay, to turn on the lights. It was very romantic, but we didn't even have power in our own house.
Oh my God.
Okay. And so we were able to pay for our gas though, because gas was cheap actually back then. It was only like $10 a month. So we did have some hot water. Thank God for, gas water heaters. And so Arlene says, well, what do you want to do for our anniversary? And so I'm like, well, how much do we have? Where can we go? Yeah. And I don't even want to mention the name of the motel. We didn't go to a hotel, right? We went to a motel. Okay. Right. So we checked into the motel and we're unpacking our bag. And we didn't have a whole lot, but we're unpacking our bag and we saw cucarachas in our room. Right.
Oh no.
And so Arlene's now, going, oh my gosh, she's screaming. I'm telling myself, man, like what, this is like awful. Like I am supposed to be the man. I'm supposed to deliver. I'm supposed to be the knight in shining armor. And she's like, where are we going to dinner? And I'm like, well, I looked out the window and there's a Waffle House. Right. So I'm like, well, you like waffles? And so we go there, we look at the price and I'm like trying to figure out, looking at the menu and, back then we would look at the menu from right to left. Okay. Because, the price was on the right-hand side and I'd go, oh, I wouldn't even look at the steak section, So I'm like, well, you want to split something? Cause we had to figure out how to budget that so we can last for 3 days and, all that kind of stuff. And so I remember coming back and we came back to our hotel our motel and I was sitting there, they say, when you're at the lowest point, the only way is to go up from there, and here's what I prayed for, Lisa. I said, dear God, I said, please make our situation the lowest point.
Right.
Like I don't want to go any lower because
you got to just hit rock bottom, I think, to go back up.
Yeah, they say when you're at your rock bottom, the only way to go is to go up. But what if you're not at the lowest point? Right? I mean, what if it's even worse than where you're already at? And I was like, dear God, please make this the rock bottom. Okay. Please make it only go up from this point. And I was like, and guess what? That's what happened. You know, I said, we are not going to stay here. Okay. And that's when I said, you know, and they say that setbacks, you know, there's a great quote, and they said setbacks are to prepare you for a comeback. And I said, I am going to be the greatest comeback artist ever. And I am going to do something with my life. I'm going to make sure that my wife made the best decision to marry me.
Yeah.
And so guess what? I had my dream. I started dreaming again. And I'll tell you what, that moment was like a defining moment for me, where I sat down and I said, man, and you know, that saying, a definition of insanity from Tony Robbins, right? Is doing the same thing over and over. And
the same behavior and you're expecting a different result.
Yeah. And I said, whatever we've been doing hasn't been working. So we're going to go, okay. So we, in our second year, actually sat down and started talking about what our dream was.
Oh.
And I said, honey, in 10 years, if you could have it all, what would that life look like? And so just like Napoleon Hill said, so it's one thing to learn and know what it is, what Think and Grow Rich says, but another thing is applying what he actually teaches you, right? And so it's like, okay, what does he want? Okay, she said house. Okay, great. How big of a house we want? You know, how many kids do we want to really, really have? You know, how much money do we want to have? We went through those, and that was our dream. And then from there, we started to write it down, and we had specific dates. Because once you have a date, right, then you have sense of urgency because you know when the deadline is, and that becomes your goals. And then when you have a goal, and then you break those down into little mini steps, that becomes your plan, right? And then your plan, backed by your actions, becomes your reality.
Oh, thank you for sharing that story. I just love the fact that you guys are still together now, and your youngest is off to college. So you guys have been together for how long?
We just celebrated 2 weeks ago our 27th anniversary.
Oh my gosh, congratulations. Thank you for
Yeah.
putting all these knowledge bombs on our audience. Is there any final thoughts on being unstoppable that you want to leave us with?
Well, there's a couple things. Number one is you look at people and why they're poor. And for me, the word poor is an acronym. And what that acronym, Lisa, stands for is passing over opportunities repeatedly.
Oh, I love that.
So when someone, you know, says, I got to talk to you about an opportunity, don't say it's not for me. Jump on it, grab it, take it. You know, people ask me all the time, you know, how did you get the rights from the Napoleon Hill Foundation? You know, how did you get the rights to write the Asian book, you know, and now you're like the modern day author with the Napoleon Hill Foundation. And I got 3 words to say for everyone, which is ask without fear. Ask without fear. Too many people are just fearful, you know, of so many things. That the fear of rejection, the fear of death, the fear of poverty, there's so many different factors of fear. And so I tell people, don't have fear. Fear is an acronym which stands for is feeling excited and ready.
You turn it around.
That's right. You know what I mean?
Oh,
and so I tell,
keep going. So much.
Yeah. And I just tell people, stop being so daggum casual, you know, because casual people become casualties.
So true. You're such a shining example of success, and how you weren't born into this success, how you just had this plan, and you strategized, and you just had a big vision, and you kept going. Where can people find you?
Well, they can hit me up on Instagram, and they can DM me there at John Shin Official. They can email me at john@tgrmastermind.com, and they can just go to my website at johncShin.com, and they can you know, inquire there. And I'd love to catch up with some of these people.
Well, thank you for being a guest on Whole CEO with Lisa G. I hope you guys are taking notes, and I hope you listen to this over and over again, because I know I will be.
Yes, and I tell everybody, just be positive all the time. Whatever your circumstances are, someone else's circumstances even worse than where you're at. So just be positive. You have a choice to either be positive or negative, but you can't you cannot litter negativity everywhere and wonder why you have a trashy life. Okay, so you gotta be positive. You gotta be optimistic, and just know this is that time is not running out, but your life is.
Right.
So go and do something big right now.
Thank you, Sir John Shin.
All right, Lisa, great seeing you.